Imagine waking up one day to find out that everything you thought you knew about yourself was just a fraction of the truth. That person you see in the mirror each morning is merely a shadow of your true potential. What if I told you there's a way to unlock hidden depths within yourself, to tap into consciousness that you never knew existed? This isn't science fiction. My friends, it's a journey of self-discovery that has the power to transform your life. I'm Roach, Mark Roach. Welcome to Transcendent, my YouTube channel where I share my journey around the world and through life, crossing the full spectrum of human life from high to low, as most people in American society define high and low. This channel is all about inspiring common people to find their power. Today we're diving into the deep and fascinating world of self-observation and a concept of changing one's level of being. This isn't just some new age mumbo jumbo. It's a profound idea rooted in the teachings of spiritual thinkers like Maurice, Nicoll, and Gurdjieff. Their work offers us a unique perspective on human consciousness and our place in the universe. Let's start with a mind-bending concept, the idea that the universe we see around us is not just external, but also internal. Imagine that the moon, the earth, the planets, and the sun aren't just celestial bodies floating in space, but also represent different levels of consciousness within us. It's like having a miniature universe inside your mind. Now, you might be thinking, Mark, have you lost it? Are you saying I've got planets in my head? Not literally, of course. What we're talking about here is psychological representation. Think of it as a mental map of different states of being. The moon, for instance, might represent our most basic instinctive behaviors. The sun, on the other hand, could symbolize our highest potential, a state of enlightenment or supreme understanding. Here's where it gets really interesting. According to this perspective, we can move up and down these levels within ourselves. When we're at our worst, maybe we're caught in a spiral of negative emotions or destructive behaviors. We're operating at that moon level. But through conscious effort and self-awareness, we can elevate ourselves to higher states of being. Now, I know you're thinking, that sounds great, Mark. How do we do that, actually? Well, that's where the practice of self-observation comes in. It's like turning on a flashlight in a dark room. Suddenly, you start to see things that were always there, but hidden from view. Self-observation is exactly what it sounds like, the practice of watching yourself. Not just your outward actions, but your thoughts, feelings, and reactions. It's about becoming aware of the patterns that drive your behavior, the automatic responses that you have to different situations. But here's the kicker. Most of us think that we're already self-aware. We assume we know ourselves inside and out. The truth is, we're often operating on autopilot, reacting to life's events without really understanding why we do what we do. It's like we're sleepwalking through life, and self-observation is the alarm clock that wakes us up. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This process isn't always comfortable. When you start shining light of consciousness on yourself, you might not like everything that you see. Maybe you realize you're not as kind as you thought you were, or that you have habits that are holding you back. But here's the thing, awareness is the first step to change. You can't fix what you don't acknowledge. Let's break this down with an example. Say you have a habit of getting into arguments with your partner. Without self-observation, you might just think, that's just how relationships are. Or my partner is always starting fights. But if you start observing yourself, you might notice that you tend to get defensive when you're stressed, or that you have a habit of interrupting your partner when they're speaking. Suddenly, you have information that you can use to change your behavior. This idea of self-observation ties into another important concept, non-identifying. This is about learning to separate yourself from your thoughts and emotions. It doesn't mean you don't have feelings, but rather you're not completely controlled by them. You're the observer of your emotions, not just the experiencer. Think of it like watching a movie. When you're completely absorbed in a film, you might find yourself laughing, crying, or feeling scared. But part of you knows it's just a movie. Non-identifying is like maintaining that awareness in your real life. You can experience an emotion without being completely overwhelmed by it. Now you might be wondering, what's the point of all this? Why should I bother with self-observation and non-identifying? Well, according to thinkers like Nicoll and Gurdjieff, these practices are the key to personal growth and transformation. They believed that most people live in a state of waking sleep. We think we're awake, but we're actually operating on a very limited level of consciousness. The goal is to reach higher states of consciousness. Nicoll and Gurdjieff described 4 states: sleep, waking sleep, where most of us spend our time, self-remembering or self-awareness, and objective consciousness. Each state represents a higher level of awareness and understanding. Now, I know what you're thinking, Mark, that sounds like some pretty heavy stuff. This isn't really accessible to regular people like me. Absolutely. While reaching the highest states of consciousness might be a lifelong journey, we can all start working towards greater self-awareness right now. Here's a simple exercise that you can try today. Set an alarm on your phone to go off randomly throughout the day. When it does, take a moment to observe yourself. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? What's your posture like? Are you tense or relaxed? This simple practice can start to build the habit of self-observation. Another powerful tool is asking for feedback from others. Now, I know that might sound about as appealing as a root canal, but hear me out. We all have blind spots, things about ourselves that we can't see but others find obvious. A trusted friend or a colleague can offer valuable insights into our behavior and patterns. Of course, receiving criticism isn't always easy. It might trigger those negative emotions that we talked about earlier. But remember, this is all part of the process. If you can observe your reaction to criticism without getting completely caught up in it, you're already practicing non-identifying. Now let's talk about the bigger picture. Why does all this matter? Well, according to this philosophy, as we become more conscious and aware, we start to align ourselves with a higher level of being. We become less reactive and more understanding, more in tune with ourselves and in tune with the world around us. In essence, we become more fully human. But it's not just about the personal benefit. The idea is that as individuals raise their level of consciousness, it has a ripple effect on society as a whole. Imagine a world where more people were self-aware, where they could observe their thoughts and emotions without being controlled by them. How might that change our interactions, our relationships, our politics? How might that change our interactions, our relationships, our politics? Of course, this isn't a quick fix or a magic solution to all of life's problems. It's a lifelong journey of growth and self-discovery. There will be setbacks and challenges along the way. You might have days where you feel like you're backsliding, where those old patterns reassert themselves. That's okay. The key is to keep observing, keep learning, keep growing. One important thing to remember is that this work isn't just about, or at all about, judging yourself. Self-observation isn't meant to be a tool for self-criticism. It's about understanding, not condemnation. It's about accepting. When you notice something about yourself that you'd like to change, approach it with curiosity rather than judgment. Isn't that interesting? Rather than, what's wrong with me? Another crucial aspect of this work is the idea of valuing it. It's not just enough to go through the motions of self-observation. You need to truly see the worth in this practice. It ties to the concept of magnetic center that Gurdjieff talked about. That's the part of us that's drawn to higher knowledge and understanding. Nurturing this magnetic center, this desire for growth and self-knowledge, is key to making progress on this path. Now, I want to address something that might be on your mind. Some of you may be thinking, Mark, this all sounds great, but I've got bills to pay and kids to feed. I don't have time to sit around contemplating my navel. Well, I get it. Life is busy and demanding, but the beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require you to drastically change your external life. You don't need to quit your job and move to a monastery. This work happens in the midst of everyday life. In fact, the challenges and frustrations of daily life provide a perfect laboratory for this kind of self-study. Think about it this way. Every interaction, every challenge, every moment of frustration is an opportunity for self-observation and growth. Stuck in traffic? Perfect time to observe your reactions. Dealing with a difficult coworker? Great chance to practice non-identifying. The key is to start seeing your life not just as a series of events to get through, but as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Now let's talk about the potential impact of this work. As you become more self-aware, you might find your relationships improve. They will change. You might become better at managing stress. You might make decisions that are more aligned with your true values rather than just reacting to external pressures. In essence, you start to live more intentionally, more consciously. But it goes beyond just personal benefits. Remember that the idea of universal being both external and internal? As you raise your level of being internally, it can change how you perceive and interact with the external world. You might find yourself more attuned to the needs of others, more aware of the interconnectedness of all things. This isn't just philosophical musing. It can lead to real, practical changes in how you live your life and interact with the world around you. Of course, this journey isn't always easy. There will be times when you feel like you're not making any progress, or when old habits reassert themselves with a vengeance, and that's okay. Remember, this is a lifelong journey, not a quick fix. The key is to keep at it, to maintain that commitment to self-observation and growth, even when it's challenging. One thing that can help is to connect with others who are on a similar path. This is where the idea of the second line of work comes in. While much of this work is internal and personal, there's immense value in sharing experiences and insights with others. It can provide support, accountability, and new perspectives that can accelerate your growth. I can help you with that. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize again that this isn't about reaching some perfect state of being. It's about continuous growth, about becoming more conscious, about being more aware, more fully yourself. It's about waking up to the richness and complexity of your inner world, and by extension, the world around you. Remember, every moment is an opportunity for self-observation. Every interaction, every emotion, every thought is a chance to learn more about yourself. As you continue on this journey, you may find that life takes on a new depth and richness. This same old routine, the challenges are still there, but your experience of them changes as you become more conscious. So I encourage you to start today. Begin with small moments of self-observation. Notice your thoughts. Notice your emotions. Feel your reactions. become aware of them. Practice non-identifying, observing your experiences without becoming completely caught up in them. Be patient with yourself, but also persistent. This is a journey of a lifetime, but every step brings its own rewards. As you move forward on this path, remember that you're not alone. Throughout history, seekers and thinkers have grappled with these same questions of consciousness and self-awareness. You're part of a long tradition of human beings striving to understand themselves and their place in the universe. So here's to the journey of self-discovery. Here's to waking up, to becoming more conscious, to unlocking the hidden depths within ourselves. It's not always an easy path, but it's one that can lead to a profound transformation and a richer, more aware way of living. Message me if you're interested in joining a circle where we have a weekly meeting to dive into some of these aspects of the Maurice Nicoll work and experience them together as a group. I'm looking at starting a circle like that online where it will be convenient for us to meet regularly. I'd love to be your host and walk the journey with you. I'm Mark Roach, wishing you all the best.